Alright, so, yeah, I feel like I haven't advertised, what do you want to call it, truth in advertising with that picture. I didn't put this getup on for a little while, so figured I would go ahead and complete the ensemble this Sunday evening. So, hello everybody. Yeah, there's just something about that I don't know. Looking, yeah, Mark Russell, hello. Yeah, looking dapper. So, yeah, been a kind of a week away, not away as far as like actual vacation, because, you know, COVID has like half the country, you know, like wrapped up in you know, chains and all sorts of you know, see, we use this stuff called webbing in emergency response, which is like a synthetic rope. You know, you can actually make a harness out of it and yank somebody. It kind of hurts because, you know, it's thin. You know, it's just like straps. But, you know, I feel like you're wrapped up in that. Half the country's like that. Oh, I can't go anywhere because COVID, and I'm supposed to stay at home because COVID. I don't want to go to the hotel, motel, beach, restaurant, movie theater, yada 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 because of COVID. And then the other half just seems to like go and gallivant all the time, and they don't seem to get it at all. And so, you know, it's and then there are some who do, but I think a lot of those who get it don't even know they have it. So it's just like we're kind of left here, a lot of us in the lurch, just saying, okay, well, I got to do this. So it wasn't a week away like that. It was a week away for the most part from rolling any dice. And you know, I'm not real thrilled. Why is Steam just updated? It needs to update again. My nose itches. But so today I finally kind of got back to that. I had a Slacker tournament. So the one thing I did this week is I set up this Slacker tournament at TPC Potomac at Avenel Farms. It was one of my favorite courses, TPC Avenel, because they also had it in like the EA Sports PGA Tour game. I think that was just EA Sports PGA Tour Golf. It was before Tiger Woods basically dominated the rights for that for a long time. But they had like 5 or 6 TPC courses, and one of them was Avenel, and I liked it mostly because there was a drivable par 4 on it. I think it was the 14th, and it's still there. But then, you know, I knew that it had gone away, and then it came back. But then I was reading more about it today, and it turns out that TPC Avenel was mostly panned by the touring pros, excuse me, as a bad course. And I know, like one of the quotes is Greg Norman said that the 9th hole should be treated with dynamite. So they redid it in the mid-2000s, and voila, now they have TPC Potomac at Avenel Farms, and this was included in, I think it was Course Pack 15. I think they just came out with, if they just came out with 16 from play, it was in 15, or if this was 15, then it came out in 14. But it's got a couple of these boutique kind of holes where you have a choice, either you go for it or you lay up. But this was the Slacker, and the winner was Junior Lucero in a playoff. Second hole of the playoff, he made a par, and Wayne Wilcox. So it was actually 3 of my custom cards made the playoff. Slacker Tour sees a lot of those custom cards, but anyway. Most of the reason I wanted to come on here was because part of not doing a whole lot of rolling is just I had a meeting Tuesday and I don't know, just the weather of late has made my basement here a little warmer. And sometimes you just get into this little bit of a rut where you just feel like I need to like refresh and not think about it too much, and that's what I did. So if I'm like a lot of you guys probably have other hobbies, and one of the things that I kind of got back into a little bit this week is just a second here. I don't have any other people. Well, I may have some viewers, but there's only Mark who has commented so far. Please leave a comment. Flight simulation. So it turns out that a new version of Microsoft Flight Simulator was released. I believe it was a week and a half ago, maybe. 2020 version. Now the downside of that version is, and I haven't bought it because I already had kind of like done a little bit of research into that, and it turns out that you pretty much need a banging system in order to do it. Like it needs to be excellent gaming kind of system with plenty of RAM, really good graphics setup, all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I may look at building one the end of this year or early next year. I've always, if there are a couple things that have been on my wish list as far as gaming goes, and I know this is kind of getting away from the tabletop thing, but again, I think a lot of you have other interests, and I'm kind of banking on it actually, so that when I'm talking about this here, it's just not going in one ear and out the other as far as you go. And if that's okay, but and actually, I guess a little bit, I had already sort of like looked at a little bit of flight sim stuff. I was already kind of getting the itch, and then I was chatting a little bit with RJL 518, and he mentioned that he was playing around with it, and I think he might have, I don't know if he got the new one or one of the older ones. There's also a couple of other good flight sims. X-Plane is one, and it's on the affordable side. Then you have Prepare, which has a 3 in it, so like the final E is a 3, and that one is not. It's built by Lockheed Martin, and it's meant to be an actual big time simulator, and I think it's pretty expensive. But a couple of the things that I wanted to have, so one was a flight sims like setup. I don't necessarily need to have like the actual, you can go and buy a cockpit kind of thing, and that's going to be pretty expensive, and I don't really want to do that. But I would like to try and invest in a tower with a real processor and a real graphics card and some real RAM. Get a couple of screens, maybe 3 HD, and be able to actually have, so at the end of last year, middle of last year, I actually bought what is called a HOTAS, which is a hands-on throttle and stick. So just keeping an eye on my audio here. So basically it's a 2-piece setup that has a joystick, which has lots of buttons, Thrustmaster, so it has tons of buttons, it's got a hat up at the top of your stick, and a few buttons up there to use too, but it's got like a ton of them on the base. And then also connected is a throttle setup, so you can adjust the throttle very smoothly. Although mine is, I didn't use it for a long time, and it's a little sticky right now, so I don't know if it's just because it needs to get a little bit of oil in there. I have to look and see what maintenance needs to be done. So that was one of the things that I was always on my wish list. The other thing, which would be much less expensive, would be to actually get pedals and a steering wheel to actually do like racing on either PlayStation 4 or possibly PC. Now granted, I could probably, once I were to get that flight sim setup, if I just got the wheel, probably, because not only is this HOTAS, and the other thing that you would really want to have in the end with that whole setup is rudder pedals. So, I mean, probably the rudder pedals would also function as pedals for gas and whatnot, and brakes. But anyway, I guess I'm just rambling on about that kind of stuff. But that's expensive stuff, and I think about how much gaming stuff I could purchase. Like tabletop gaming, and I'm just like, hey, I could put a lot of that. So I don't know, but I would, if you guys have ever had interest in flight, I would say just you could go out and get what is called FSX, Flight Simulator X10, Roman numeral 10X. So FSX will run. It runs on my laptop pretty cleanly, and and so the thing that I liked to do back in the day was what was called a virtual airline, and basically you join. There's it's just a way to express your hobby. Like when we roll our dice, a lot of what we try to do to express our hobby is have a project, with goals that we have. We want to get through a season, we want to get through a tournament, and see what the outcome is. And not only that, but most of us enjoy sharing that data, those results with other people through, at this point, like social media on our Facebook page, Tabletop Baseball Plus. There's like if you are into the play games or ATBA or Stratomatic, there are forums or groups or whatever you want to call it for each of those games, not only on Facebook, but like there's a Strat fan forum, there's Delphi forums for both ATBA and play, and then I'm sure Payoff Pitch has its own stuff, and I mean, a lot of what we like to do is just be able to interact favorably with other people. I don't always post a lot of that stuff just on Facebook. I figure I do a lot of reporting here and such. So the virtual airline thing is kind of like a way there's usually like an entry exam, or it doesn't even have to be an exam. Like as long as you just have learned how to fly in the flight sim for the most part. And there are some things you can do to study to learn more about proper procedures. Some people I'm going to take these off now. It's kind of weird. Some people get very in-depth and want to do all of the startup procedures and take it really seriously, and other people pretty much just slap it in there and go. A lot of people don't even worry about virtual airlines. They just like going in and saying, you know what, I want to fly from Poughkeepsie to Syracuse today, and I really don't care. And they'll do it. But the virtual airline gives you a structure. You can bid on flights. Some are based on real airlines, others are fictitious. I joined one that is I kind of like things that aren't complete, like airline related. I was in a couple that were more like an airline. This is more like a charter, like an executive charter service. So that's kind of what I like to do. I like flying into smaller airports with fewer procedures. But that doesn't mean that I won't necessarily join another one. But the other nice thing about it is there's also things like the big one that I've always done when I got into VAs. It's called VATSIM, which is it's like a virtual airspace, and there are controllers, and you can fly there, and so you're flying on that. There's also like IVAO, and there's probably a couple others now. There might even be one that's like a pay for, but VATSIM is free, and you can go in there, and if you go to like the big cities, the big hubs where airlines fly in and out of, there will be controllers manning the towers and centers and things like that. So Like obviously New York, LA, Chicago, Atlanta, the big ones. And then you'll have some centers over, sort of like flyover country too, that will help kind of direct, because a lot of people are just flying, your cross-continental things like that. So back to this time off, which is probably what more people are, week away. I think that's what I called this video. So I got this tournament done. I have another tournament that needs to go on. So I needed to get Slacker done because I had scheduled it the same week as the Championship of the UK. So I don't really like to get ahead. I also don't really like to readjust things. I have done it. I did it earlier this season. I moved a couple tournaments from earlier to later, and I don't really like doing that a lot because I feel like I just need to go and do it. If I do it now, then I don't have to do it later, and that puts me a little farther down the road. But the trouble is and again, I'm just kind of sharing this off the cuff because I figure it's helpful for you guys too, because I think each of us has a level of an interest level that can be reached, and some of us have a much higher threshold level or interest level, and others have a much lower one. I'm pretty up there, but it does, after a while, if I'm like hitting something real hard, it can finally get to you, and you just kind of like need to say, let's just go easy on this one. And that's kind of what I did with this Slacker thing. I'm just like, you know what, I'm gonna set up the tournament. I'm gonna put it here when I'm ready. When I feel like I'm ready here on whatever afternoon or evening, I'll either get in 4 holes, or I'll get in 6, or I'll get in 12, or I'll get in 18. And that's what I did today. I did get in the 18 today, but it was like, I had just gotten done with Royal Troon, which was kind of a tough course, and then I was doing this tournament thing through Play that they were on, the Olympic course, the US Open course, and it was just extremely difficult. And then to see a couple of the scores come in after the fact, and it's just like I'm not playing in this anymore, because I don't really need to feel like I'm competing at all. That's why I like, and maybe you're like that too, and that's perfectly fine. I enjoy doing my personal stuff here because I know all I'm doing is, I am trying to be entertaining for the camera here, but I'm also just trying to be honest with myself and how I'm going to play this out, and I don't have to put any extra pressure on me. I think some of what happened with the Phillies replay back a couple of years ago was because I put a lot of pressure on myself, and I don't really need that. That's not healthy for me, and it's not really healthy for the channel either if I'm getting frustrated or getting this or that. And it wasn't a whole lot of frustration, but sometimes with golf and with this game, History Maker Golf, I think it needs some space. And I said I was going to get into baseball, and I just didn't get it back on the table, and maybe I need to. But I was in need of like a couple days or a week or whatever of just kind of like, let's just play chill here and let it play out. So okay, and I got sidetracked, which these kind of like dugout sort of things are intended to do. I was kind of hoping to have a few more people here ready to comment. I see I have a few viewers here. Please feel free to comment. I'm not trying to just sit here and monopolize the space. I would love to interact with you and But one of the things that really jazzed me to come on here was, as I was playing this tournament, I was also sitting there watching the BMW Championship on the TV, and what a close to the tournament, man! I mean, John Rahm just shoots lights out, makes a nice 2-putt on 18 for a 64, so that's like a one-shot lead over Johnson. Johnson on 18, Dustin Johnson, he puts it in the rough on 18. If any of you have DVR'd it and don't want to get spoiled by it, please just go away if you need to. But Johnson, so he needs a birdie, hits it, fades it too far to the right, actually gets somewhat stymied by a tree a little bit. He does have an angle. He needs to play a good fade around it, and because the pin is also on the right side. And he plays a pretty nice shot, but it hits in the front of the green, and it takes, because it's coming out of the rough, it's hot, takes a big kick, goes to the kind of like the backside of the green, just over this ridge that I think if it had stayed on the top part of that ridge, it may have just backed up towards the flag a little bit. Rolled back down because it was kind of fast, but instead it just got over it. So he had this tough putt, maybe 25 footer. It's one of those that's that itself was probably double difficult. This could have been 30 feet, and double breaker, starts to the left. He gets it over this ridge that he got too far over on the shot in. It kind of comes to the right, starts rolling, picking up speed downhill, bends back to the left a little bit, and hits the flag stick and in. And of course, it's been a couple of years now, they've changed the rules where a ball hitting the flag is perfectly legal on the green. It used to be you had to pull the flag out, and I think it still would have gone in, although it was moving pretty quickly. So he ties Rahm -4. Wow. Johnson doesn't really show much emotion, but he did pretty much do a fist pump, and Rahm was over keeping warm, so I think he kind of knew that there was a good chance that Johnson was going to find a way to birdie 18. I don't know if he had any idea that Johnson was a tricky putt away. Video is slightly lagging the audio. That's interesting. Not sure why. Yeah. Probably because I'm trying to use this voice meter, which mostly is good, but it has its issues. So I don't know, and I think my laptop, it's a little warm. It's kind of feeling its legs. But anyway, so they get to it. So it's a playoff, and they play 18 again. And Rahm goes first. So this is, it's like a 400 and probably 460, something like that. I don't know, maybe a little shorter than that. Par 4. Rahm, he basically hits a slightly better drive than Johnson did on the original playing of 18, but it's still to the right, and it's in the rough. Decent lie, but still troublesome. Then Johnson hits. He hits it left, very left. Doesn't fade into the fairway. Instead, it stays left, but as it comes down, it hits like one of the few trees that's over down there that far, and kicks straight back into the fairway, right in the middle. And he's basically he's probably 20 yards out further than where Rahm was. Just one of the greatest breaks he could ever get. So you're thinking to yourself, okay, Johnson's going to win back-to-back tourneys. He's got this in the bag now. The golf, quote-unquote, golf gods are all about this. And so he hits his shot. He, for having a good lie, he didn't appear to try to go after that pin. He may have been trying to play a fade, but maybe he just got around on the ball a little bit too much, and so he ended up on the left side. He was about probably 40 feet left, but pin high. Then Rahm hits his shot from the rough, and it's nowhere near as good as the shot that Johnson hit from the similar spot on 18. It goes to the left side of the green, and it's not even as good as Johnson's shot so I mean, you would expect that out of the rough, but it goes way to the back left corner, and he's probably got 65 feet, and it's on a similar line to what Johnson had to make to tie Rahm. And it's just like, I thought Johnson's was double difficult. This is absolutely double difficult. This is like way out there. And so Rahm gets up there. He's first to play. Johnson's probably thinking, I might be able to two-putt this for par and win. And Rahm, he plays it, and it gets right up there to that point where Johnson's got to. And it starts to go down to the right, and it starts to pick up speed left, and it's like from that point forward, it was a carbon copy of Johnson's. It just goes bing off the pin and in, and it was, and Rahm, he was definitely jacked at that point. He was flipping out, and anybody would be, maybe except for Dustin Johnson. I mean, it was because you also have to understand the day before, Rahm cost himself. He had to take a penalty shot because he forgot to mark his ball when he picked it up on the green. I don't know how you do that. If he's like, I don't know. I mean, the guys on the coverage today are like, we've all done it. I'm like, I don't ever remember going there and picking up a ball without putting down a marker. I mean, that does not seem like something that someone who's played golf for probably 20 years of their life would do. Like, that's it's like, whoa. So he took a penalty stroke because of that the day before. So with Johnson tying him, that kind of was going to be playing in his mind. Oh, gee, I should have won this tournament outright, except I sat there and made one of the biggest bungles of all time that usually someone who's had way too many to drink would do, rather than, someone who's a professional golfer who does this for a living and has to count on not making stupid mistakes. So anyway, so he makes this birdie putt on 18. Johnson, he gives his a roll, but it's not anywhere near close. It was just like, and so Rahm wins, and that was, that was. I mean, I remember Hale Irwin's putt at the U.S. Open way back when, and obviously I was a little young for Mize chipping in at the Masters, but I can't remember if I was watching that live or not. It's just like, I was probably a little young for golf at that point. But anyway, so I'm lagging a little bit here on the audio, so I guess what I'll just say here to close is, we'll get some more stuff in here, but I just, and I do need to get some more golf in. I want to get this tour finished up by Thanksgiving, and so I've got a few tournaments left. I think it's 6. So, if I do one every other week, so that's going to be, so there's 4 in September, 4 in October, 4 in November. If I go every other week, I can probably get that done before Thanksgiving. So, Mark, thanks for checking in here, and thanks for listening to me. But I wanted to, I should have gone off about the BMW Championship first, because it was pretty awesome, but don't want to hang on here too long. So thanks, everybody. Be on the lookout for more stuff from me. It's been a little bit hectic and just a little bit needing to veg out a little bit. So, and rekindle a little bit of a different hobby. So anyway, see you next time here on the channel. Have a great, very much, just a little bit left here of the weekend, but I hope whatever I see you next week, I hope your week is good. Heading up to a holiday weekend. Yay. So see you soon.